It is 9:36 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It is the 5th day of March 2025. This is episode 1048 of Bitcoin, and there's going to be a Bitcoin reserve announcement coming this Friday, according to Commerce Secretary Lutnick, and he's talking about this White House crypto summit, and we're going to talk about the attendees who have so far confirmed that they're going to be there. Also, some interesting developments with GameStop. I'll talk about it, I promise. El Salvador is going to be back in the news. And it seems that Bukele is thumbing his nose yet again at the IMF. And honestly, I'm flat-ass confused by exactly what all this is. It doesn't make sense. I'll try to parse it out for you. Got a note here from Bitcoin Headline on nostr that looks like it's tracing every single Ethereum or Ether transaction from the Bybit hack, and it has an interesting development at the end. And then we're going to talk about what happened to the Dixie or the dollar index before we do the numbers. And then Metaplanet's in the news, and then I got Belarus. Lushenko is in the news as well, and it's obviously about Bitcoin. And then we have some ATMs, and I'm not talking about at the market, I'm talking about actual automated teller machines going dark. And then we will have news on a Phoenix wallet update. But first, Bitcoin reserve announcement coming on Friday, says Commerce Secretary. From decrypt.co, written by Stephen Graves. The proposed U.S. crypto strategic reserve is expected to be announced this Friday, according to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, with Bitcoin set to hold a unique status while other cryptocurrencies will be, quote, treated differently. Let me just pause, because I am a podcast listener too. And chances are good you might have just perked your ears up right in the middle of that. So I'm going to read that entire sentence one more time. Listen up. The proposed United States Crypto Strategic Reserve is expected to be announced this coming Friday, according to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. And here's the important part. With Bitcoin set to hold a unique status, while shitcoins will be, quote, treated differently. Now, I've seen several news articles about this. Let's see what Decrypt has to say further. Speaking to news outlet The Pavlovic today, Lutnick said that, quote, a Bitcoin strategic reserve is something that the president's interested in. He spoke about it all during the campaign trail, and I think you're going to see it executed on Friday, end quote. The United States Commerce Department did not immediately respond to a request from Decrypt for further comment. Of course they're not. They're going to wait until Friday, dude. Lutnick discussed the status of other cryptocurrencies earmarked for a U.S. strategic crypto reserve, stating that, quote, Bitcoin is one thing, and then the other currencies, the other crypto tokens, I think, will be treated differently, positively, but differently, end quote. In a Sunday post on his Truth Social account, United States President Donald Trump said, hey, we're going to add shitcoins, and it freaked everybody out, and that's all I want to say about that. So let's move on to this next paragraph. The expected announcement of the United States Strategic Crypto Reserve on Friday, that's this coming Friday, not today, not tomorrow, but the day after that, would coincide with the White House's first crypto summit, with confirmed attendees including, and then there's a bunch of names, and I've got a whole list of names that we'll get to here in a second, but it's set to be chaired by artificial intelligence and crypto czar David Sachs. The gathering is the first in a series of sporadic crypto summits that will essentially replace President Donald Trump's promised, quote, crypto council, which was abandoned due to industry infighting over priorities. Yeah, the only priority here is Bitcoin. Everything else is a shitcoin, and if you hold it, you're going to get rugged. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. Every single time something of note comes up, the very first idiots that spill out of the woodwork like the fucking termites that they are is people like Brad Garlinghouse and Brian Armstrong and the rest of the Hitler Youth, who absolutely just love shitcoins and just seem to not understand. Well, Garlinghouse understands. Brian understands. They understand it, but they are affinity scammers. Hey, this is like Bitcoin, and it's going to be just as good as Bitcoin, or it will still have utility. It may not be as good as Bitcoin, but it's going to have its utility, and you're going to need to buy some. And so, therefore, they're all basically infighting on two fronts. One is their shitcoin is better than the other guy's shitcoin, and all of them together are trying to go after Bitcoin itself. So there's two infighting fronts. And the only way to really survive all of this is to buy Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, and only talk to people about Bitcoin. And if they bring up anything else, just lambast it. Somebody comes up to you and says, well, I know that you're into Bitcoin, but what do you think about Ether? Shitcoin. But surely Ripple's okay. Shitcoin. But what about Cardano? Shitcoin. What shitcoin? You see how this works? Now, speaking of the attendees at this White House Crypto Summit, we have confirmed and unconfirmed names. So who is unconfirmed first? Well, amazingly enough, Howard Lutnick himself, the Commerce Secretary, is unconfirmed, as is the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. And Pam Bondi is also unconfirmed. Now, outside of that, who else is unconfirmed? Kathy Wood, which is the founder and CEO of ARK Invest. God forbid Vitalik Buterin, you know who he is. Jeremy Allaire, co-founder and CEO of Circle, is also unconfirmed. Paolo Ardoino, the CEO of Tether, unconfirmed. Charles Hoskinson, founder of Cardano. Anatoly Yakovenko, the founder of Solana, and Mark Andreessen of A16Z, or as we all know it, Andreessen Horowitz, which was an early investor in Ripple. All those people are unconfirmed. Let's get to the confirmed side of this page. From the White House, or at least in the government, Bo Hines is confirmed. Executive Director of the Presidential Council of Advisors for Digital Assets. Of course, David Sachs, the AI and crypto czar, is going to be there. Mark Uyeda, the acting chairman of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. Carolyn Pham, the acting chairman of the U.S. Commodity Futures and Trading Commission. Now, outside the United States government, Michael Saylor will be there. David Bailey, the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine. Matt Huang, co-founder of Paradigm. J.P. Richardson, the CEO of Exodus. Kyle Samani, managing partner at Multicoin Capital. Zach Witkoff, co-founder of Trump-linked World Liberty Financial. Sergey Nazarov, the co-founder of Chainlink. Brian Armstrong of Coinbase. Vlad Tenev of Robinhood. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Arjun Sethi from Kraken. Chris Marzellik from Crypto.com. And, of course, Brad frickin' Garlinghouse. So it's going to be interesting this Friday. I do not know the time at which this is supposed to occur. Wait a minute. No, I do. The summit is on March the 7th, and the roundtable is scheduled from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. UTC. That is UTC, not Pacific Standard Time. It's 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. UTC. Go grab your world clock and see what time that is for you. Let me see if there's anything else of note in this particular one. I don't think there really is. But hey, the shitcoiners are coming out of the woodwork. It's going to be all kinds of fun. Now, GameStop. I saw a very interesting Twitter post yesterday. And this one is from a guy named @ValueOrion. That's his handle on Twitter. And he says, confirming, Autopilot is showing GameStop as the third largest publicly traded company with Bitcoin holdings. No confirmation yet from GameStop, Ryan Cohen, or Larry VC. Now that is a retweet of this Peruvian bull tweet over on Twitter that says the Autopilot app, and Autopilot is sort of like, it's like an app you get on your phone. You can follow people's trades, and it's kind of like you can trade with the best of them, like Nancy Pelosi. And there used to be, I can't remember what it was. There used to be, I think it was like Trade One, where you could like load BTC into a BTC wallet on Trade One and then follow other traders and just invest exactly the way that they invested. And Autopilot seems to be kind of like that. But people are looking at this Autopilot app and they're seeing that GameStop is showing as, now this is a Peruvian bull. It says that he's looking at at this Autopilot, and GameStop is showing as the third largest holder of Bitcoin. Not confirmed, but bullish. And that was from yesterday. I have yet to see any confirmation at all. And it shows that GME is an 11% holder of Bitcoin, and nobody knows what the hell that means. iBit, it's like, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the screenshot from this Autopilot, and this is the screenshot that the header says companies holding Bitcoin, and the number one on top is iBit, and then it just says 18%. What do you mean 18%? I don't understand these percentage numbers. If anybody understands Autopilot a hell of a lot better than I do, because I don't even have the app yet, I haven't loaded it in. This is the first I'm even hearing about it. Please tell me what the hell these percentages mean, because they don't make any sense. Because MSTR, it says 16%. This is a company under the heading companies holding Bitcoin. 16% of what? And then we go to GameStop, which is at 11%. And then Coinbase is at 10%. Mara is at 9%. Tesla at 8%. Riot 7%. XYZ at 6%. And something called CLSK at 5%. And again, completely unconfirmed. Cannot get any news story at all about whether or not GameStop actually bought a bunch of Bitcoin, because they would have to have bought a bunch of Bitcoin to get to the number 2 spot behind iBit. So amazing. And honestly, yeah, no, I mean, behind MicroStrategy, they would have had to have bought a lot. I cannot find anything, and I don't know what these percentages mean. So again, please, sending out the bat signal for help. If you understand what the hell that means, please let me know. Now, from El Salvador, Bukele is vowing to continue Bitcoin purchases despite the International Monetary Fund deal. Danny Park is writing this one for The Block. President Nayib Bukele said that El Salvador will not stop purchasing Bitcoin despite its deal with the IMF to scale back Bitcoin activities. Quote, "No, it's not stopping. If it didn't stop when the world ostracized us and most, quote, Bitcoiners abandoned us, it won't stop now, and it won't stop in the future," end quote. Last December, El Salvador and the IMF reached an agreement for the country to limit Bitcoin-related activities in exchange for a financing package, including a $1.4 billion loan, with the total package expected to be worth over $3.5 billion. The IMF previously said that El Salvador's Bitcoin reserve held potential risks that have not yet materialized. The country's Congress moved quickly to comply with IMF requirements, approving amendments that included making the acceptance of Bitcoin voluntary for the private sector, according to Reuters. And last month, the IMF approved the $1.4 billion loan, giving El Salvador an immediate disbursement of around $113 million. Quote, "Going forward, program commitments will confine government engagement in Bitcoin-related economic activities, as well as government transactions in and the purchases of Bitcoin," the IMF wrote in a press release. Nonetheless, El Salvador Strategic Reserve announced earlier Tuesday that it added more Bitcoin to its holdings, raising the total to 6,101.18 BTC, worth over $535 million. In a reply to Bukele's ex-post, JM3 CEO Samson Moe questioned how the IMF deal will impact El Salvador's future Bitcoin purchases. Bukele has yet to respond to Moe's question, opting instead to repost other supportive messages from Strategy CEO Michael Saylor and crypto podcast host Peter McCormick. The block has reached out to the El Salvador government for further comment, and they bought another Bitcoin yesterday evening. So I don't know what's going on here. I mean, this is the only thing that I can figure, or as a potential possibility, is that Bukele's just playing. He's just playing with the IMF like a cat plays with a mouse before it kills it. Now, Bukele can't kill the IMF, but he can certainly play with it. And I don't know, because I don't know what his game is. If El Salvador needs this loan, and I don't know why they do, so that's one question, then they need the $3.5 billion loan. They have only gotten approved so far for a $1.4 billion loan, and they've only had $113 million of that preliminary loan actually dispersed as cash that they can use, which they immediately started buying Bitcoin. I don't know if they used exactly that money, but it really doesn't matter, does it? Because they got money, they got $113 million from the IMF on a $1.4 billion loan. They start buying Bitcoin. It doesn't matter where the money came from. Okay, so then the IMF gets pissed. It says, look, you're going to have to stop buying Bitcoin. Otherwise, we're not going to give you the loan. And I haven't actually seen any of that language at all. They just said, they issued the statement yesterday and said, you got to stop buying Bitcoin. You can't purchase it as part of, your government activities. And then Bukele ends up buying more Bitcoin. And then, as if to add insult to injury, he tweets out that he's never going to stop buying Bitcoin. Well, would that not anger the IMF and have them pull the plug on this loan? See, that's where it starts to get really, really gray. What the hell is Bukele doing? There's two questions in my mind that I think are the most important questions here. Why does El Salvador need this loan? Is something going on in El Salvador where they would purposely put themselves under the thumb of an institution that Bukele knows has become inherently evil? And the IMF is evil, make no mistake. Okay, so what could be going on that you would do that? Second, how is this not going, if they need the loan, how is his activities of continuously thumbing his nose at the IMF and possibly using directly their fundage to actually buy Bitcoin in clear violation of what they want in order for this whole deal to go forward? What is that? What happens? And I cannot find any clear answers at all about this deal. What is it for? I mean, it's vague. Everything about this is vague, and it just bugs the crap out of me that I cannot find any credible information as to exactly what this loan is for, under what situation Bukele thought this was a good idea to put himself back underneath the thumb of the IMF, and what the IMF's reaction is to the continuous nosing of the thumb, or thumbing of the nose, or however you want to put it. It's all bizarre to me, but we got other fish to fry, and those fish have been converted to Bitcoin. The Ethereum, or the Ether, or whatever you want to call that shitcoin that got hacked from Bybit, according to Bitcoin Headline and Arkham Intelligence, has been fully 100% converted into Bitcoin. There's no Ethereum left, or no Ether left. And this guy has got a screenshot of a very, very convoluted tracing of all of the wallet addresses from whence the Ether came to where the Ether went. And there's just wallet upon wallet upon wallet upon wallet until finally the Ether just disappears. and I'm going to take the guy's word for it, that the North Korea Lazarus group has fully laundered the proceeds of the Bybit hack. They swapped the stolen ETH for BTC, according to Arkham Intelligence. And again, that is Bitcoin headline, Bitcoin headline over on Nostr. It's got a full screenshot. If you want to see exactly what I'm looking at, the primal.net URL link directly to this note is in the show notes. So go click it and it will take you right here. Now, do you want some maple syrup? Because the Circle P is open for business. The Circle P is where I bring plebs like you with goods and services to plebs just like you who want to buy with Bitcoin goods and services. And if you're not selling it for Bitcoin, you're not in the Circle P. MapleTrade is in the Circle P because he sells his handmade Ohio maple syrup for Bitcoin. And if you tell MapleTrade that you bought his maple syrup because I told you here on the Circle P for the Bitcoin and podcast, he will cut me Satoshis for what he thinks the value of me bringing his product to you actually was. It's value for value advertising, and you will not find it anywhere but the Circle P. I've had his maple syrup. It is made by hand. He taps the trees himself. He does all the work. He boils it down. He does osmosis. I'm not exactly sure what goes on in the whole thing of making maple syrup, but I think he said he tapped 175 trees, maple trees, which means he's got to go lug all of that sap after those bottles are full and then boil it all down. It's a labor-intensive labor of love, ladies and gentlemen. And also ask him about his sister Sarah's soaps. His sister Sarah makes some fine soaps. I've used those as well. Can't recommend them enough. Make sure that you tell MapleTrade that you heard it here on the Circle P, and you can find his, and I've got his Buysnerds Twitter handle URL in my, so all you got to do is find where it says like maple syrup, and then there's like a Twitter URL. You'll go right to him, give him a direct message or reply to him or hit him up in X and, tell him that you want his maple syrup. All right. So, and then make sure that you tell him that I sent you. What else we got? Oh, the Dixie. I would start singing the song, but I'd be calling it a racist. Dollar index declines below 105 as the Bitcoin price hits 90K. And this is out of CoinDesk, and it's written by James Van Straten. At the start of the year, CoinDesk research indicated that the dollar index, a measure of the United States dollar's strength against a basket of major trading partners, was mirroring its trajectory from Donald Trump's first term as president. Between September 2024 and January 2025, coinciding with Trump's reelection, the dollar index, or the Dixie, climbed from 100 to 110. This current cycle, the index peaked at 110 in mid-January, but has since dropped below 105 for the first time since the middle of November. If the Dixie were to fall to around 103, it would erase all of its gains since Trump's victory in November. Typically, a Dixie index above 100 is considered strong, which tends to put pressure on risk assets. However, as the index dipped below 105, Bitcoin rose above $88,000. A similar pattern was observed in 2017 when the Dixie fell from 103 to below 90, coinciding with Bitcoin's bull run that year. That saw it top out at $20,000 in December. Despite this, macroeconomic uncertainty persists with concerns surrounding tariffs, inflation, and U.S. GDP growth. The economy appears to be slowing, and Friday's jobs report is expected to show a continuation of 4% unemployment. If the report comes in weaker than anticipated, Treasury yields could continue declining, increasing the likelihood that the Federal Reserve could consider a rate cut in its March meeting. And that March meeting is coming up, I believe, this Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So yields on the Treasury bonds have been going down. The Dixie, and people say, well, we want a strong dollar. half of those people have absolutely no idea what they're saying. Most of those people, in fact, think that a strong dollar means rah, rah, USA. That's not exactly what it means. It means that a lot of other countries don't want to sell us. Well, they don't really want to sell us their goods and services because the dollar is strong, and they've got to buy stuff and sell stuff to us at their currency, the way that their currency works in their country, what they can buy, what they can sell for. If we have a strong dollar, it makes it much less likely that business is being conducted between other countries in the United States. Whereas a weaker dollar, they do. Like if I got a strong dollar, a really, really strong dollar, and somebody from Ireland that is comparatively weak currency against the United States dollar flies their happy ass over here, their hotel room is a lot more expensive, their food is a lot more expensive. They don't really want to be here. So from a travel and tourism standpoint, a strong dollar does not really help tourism of people coming from other countries to the United States. That's one example of why when people say we want a strong dollar, you kind of don't. But you don't want it so freakishly weak that the inverse is true. Where if you're a United States citizen and you go, I don't know, anywhere else in the world, all of a sudden your dollar, when it's converted to like baht in Thailand or whatever it is that they use, doesn't buy as much. So there's a happy sweet spot in there somewhere. So just be aware that sometimes when we talk about a strong dollar, it doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means. Let's run the numbers. Futures and commodities. I got all kinds of weirdness happening today. The oil is on its ass really bad, and this has to do with OPEC Plus saying that they are going to go ahead and add, I think it's 138,000 barrels of oil a day to its production. Starting April the 1st is what they said, and of course oil reacted violently. West Texas Intermediate is down 3 full points to $66.22 a barrel, and Brent North Sea is down 2.5 to $69.24. But natural gas is making its gains. 1.5% to the upside brings it to $4.41 per 1,000 cubic feet. Gasoline off its ass, 3.27% to the downside brings it to $2.12 a gallon. Shiny metal rock's doing okay. Gold is up 0.13%. Silver is up well over 2 full points. Platinum is up 1/5 of a point. Copper is up 5.1%. And palladium is down 3/4 of a point. Ag is mostly in the green today. Biggest winner today looks to be coffee, 2.33% to the upside. Chocolate, as usual, is the biggest loser, 2% to the downside. Live cattle is up 1/3 of a point. Lean hogs are up 3.37%, and feeder cattle are up 0.81%. The Dow. Now here's where it gets weird. All of the equity legacy indices are in the green. 0.72% to the upside for the Dow. S&P is up 2/3 of a point. NASDAQ is up 0.85%, and the S&P Mini is up almost a half. Why? Because earlier this morning at about 5 a.m., my time, shit was down, like the Dow was down 300 points. It is now up 300 points. Okay, so that was like that was a reversal, a complete reversal for the Dow, and all the rest of the equities markets, they all gained. Why? Because the jobs report came out. And there's word on the street that Trump might be relaxing some of his tariff rhetoric, but I think this is actually more about the jobs print than anything else. I've got this one from finance.yahoo.com. A fresh look at the jobs market on Wednesday provided another sign of potential cracks in the economy. Data from ADP showed that private sector companies added only 77,000 jobs in February a significant slump from January and also far below economist expectations. The ADP print is one in a series of jobs readings that tee up Friday's all-important non-farm payrolls report. We came in on a really soft print on jobs. So why does that affect the Dow and the rest of the equity markets? Because now we've got a crack in the economy. Therefore, the Fed very well may, in this month, reduce the federal funds lending rate. So we may see a 0.25% drop. We don't know. We literally don't know what the hell the Fed is going to do. But this just makes it more likely that they will, or at least strongly consider, either this month or next month, dropping the federal funds rate to help the economy along, which makes risk assets not so risky because the cost of borrowing the money to buy into those risk assets becomes cheaper. And therefore, people are kind of hedging what they think is going to be a Fed funds rate cut this month. So we'll have to see. But let's get on into Bitcoin, which is having slight rally this morning. $89,390. That's a $1.77 trillion market cap. We can get 30.5 ounces of shiny metal rocks with our one Bitcoin, of which there are 19,832,419.75 of. And average fees per block are still low, 0.04 BTC, taken in fees on a per block basis. There are about 55 blocks carrying 16,400 unconfirmed transactions waiting to clear at high priority rates of 5 Satoshis per VByte. Low priorities get you in at 4. And let's see, hash rate has fallen precipitously. We are back down to 788.4 exahashes per second. So do with that what you will. From Trump and Dump, yesterday's episode of Bitcoin, and I've got FOMO Chronic with 1,001 sats. It's a palindrome boost. And he says, nothing. Damn it. Anonymous with 1,000 says nothing. But Bitcoin for President didn't give me 1,000 sats and a boostagram that says, press pause and donate to the show. You will make Mr. Bennett happy. And you will feel better about yourself. Value for value, folks. Your services are appreciated, sir. You know what I appreciate? He spelled my name correctly. Bennett. Most people screw that up, and Bitcoin for President nailed it to the cross. Michael Sparks with 777 says, great show, David. I need to listen more. I recommend you do. Psyduck with 560 says, Psyduck. Bodega Box Boy. Is that right? Yes. Bodega Box Boy with 500 says, well, damn it, nothing. Paul Surnine with 500 says, thanks again, sir. Always a pleasure to listen to your overview of the news, as well as your opinions and recommendations. Unlike other podcasts, you consistently succeed in keeping your episodes at an attractive length. That's a massive and potentially undervalued selling point. Plus, your acoustics are very nice and a pleasure to listen to. Keep up the good work. By the way, I'm quite puzzled at what's happening in El Salvador and looking forward to the development there, as well as your reporting on that topic. Well, I hope you got that in the very first part of the show there, Paul. Thank you for the sats and the kind words, my friend. Bodega Box Boy with another 500 says, another nothing. Yodel with 300 says nothing. God's Death with 237 says, thank you, sir, no thank you. Justin with 100 says, thank you, no thank you, and that's the weather report. Welcome to part 2 of the news you can use. MetaPlanet scoops up another $43 million in Bitcoin amid crypto market slump. They bought the dip, baby. Vismaya V with Decrypt. Japanese investment firm MetaPlanet Incorporated has doubled down on its aggressive Bitcoin accumulation strategy during the dip. The Tokyo-based firm announced the acquisition of 497 Bitcoin for $43.9 million, in line with the company's goals of acquiring 10,000 BTC by 2025 and 21,000 by 2026. MetaPlanet's purchase, made at an average price of $88,448 per coin, brings its total Bitcoin holdings to 2,888 BTC, valued at around $240 million at current prices. The company's stock rose by over 20% to $27.08 per share following the announcement of its Bitcoin acquisition, according to Yahoo Finance. Yeah, and I looked at that today. A 20% bump made their chart not so ugly over the last couple of weeks. MetaPlanet's latest buy comes as Bitcoin faced price volatility, dipping to 83 grand earlier this week after U.S. President Trump confirmed tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. MetaPlanet CEO Simon Jarovich announced the company's BTC yield performance for 2025 rose to 45.1%, well above its target of 35% yield per quarter. BTC yield refers to the percentage change in the ratio of total Bitcoin holdings to fully diluted shares outstanding. Okay, so MetaPlanet buying up some Bitcoin themselves during the dip. Belarus might consider Bitcoin mining. Lushenko says, quote, "We have excess electricity." Atlas 21. On March the 4th, during a government meeting, Belarusian President Alexander Lushenko instructed the new Minister of Energy, Alexei Kushnarenko, to develop the Bitcoin mining industry in the country. According to the state news agency BelTA, Lushenko stated, quote, "Let's analyze this mining. If it is profitable for us, let's do it. We have excess electricity," end quote. This move is part of a broader plan to modernize the national electricity grid spanning 5,700 kilometers. The decision appears to have been influenced by the United States, which has announced its ambition to become the world capital of cryptocurrencies by creating a strategic reserve in Bitcoin and shitcoins. For God's sakes, they list them, and I don't want to read the names. The Belarusian president remarked, quote, "You see the direction the world is going, and especially the largest economy in the world. Yesterday, they announced that they will keep cryptocurrency in reserve," end quote. Belarus offers particularly favorable conditions for mining because it ranks among the 3 European countries with the lowest electricity costs. It has a significant energy surplus. It has already attracted interest from potential investors in the sector, according to statements from the Ministry of Energy. According to former Deputy Minister of Energy Denis Moroz, preliminary consultations are already underway with investors interested in establishing mining operations in the country. Belarus was not at all on my bingo card this morning, so interesting. That's going to be interesting to see if that actually happens. Because here's what I think is probably going to happen. We'll give you tax breaks if you bring your miners over, and then people bring their miners over, and then a year later they go, "Whoopsies, no more tax breaks," and you're captive. So be aware, guys. It's not like Lushenko is a great guy, so be careful with this dude. All right. So 1,200 Bitcoin ATMs have gone dark in the United States as fraud concerns grow, according to BitcoinNews.com's Alex Larry. In early March, the United States saw a massive and sudden drop in Bitcoin ATMs with over 1,200 machines going offline. This came just days after Illinois Senator Dick Durbin introduced a new bill to prevent fraud, specifically in the Bitcoin ATM industry. The proposed, quote, Crypto ATM Fraud Prevention Act has operators and regulators worried about the future of these machines in the United States. And according to Coin ATM Radar, the global Bitcoin ATM network lost more than 1,000 machines in early March. Of those, 1,233 were removed from the United States market alone. While other countries like Canada, Spain, Poland, Australia, and Switzerland have new installations, the U.S. decline was a major surprise. Despite this reduction, The U.S. still has the most Bitcoin ATMs with 29,731 machines, which is 80% of the world's total. Canada has only 3,144, and Australia about 1,500. The timing of this massive decline suggests a connection to new regulatory scrutiny, aka Senator Durbin's Crypto ATM Fraud Prevention Act. Well, it aims to prevent scams by requiring operators to warn users about scams, implement financial loss prevention measures, and give law enforcement better tools to track illegal transactions. Yes, sirree. The bill was introduced after scams involving Bitcoin ATMs surged, with criminals using the machines to steal money from unsuspecting victims. Senator Durbin said digital asset ATMs are being used by scammers, and they want operators to be held accountable, to protect the public. The bill puts several new measures in place, including, and listen up, 1, mandatory warnings on ATMs to inform users about scams. That's like putting skulls and crossbones on packs of cigarettes, people. Nobody gives a shit. Stronger compliance requirements for operators to submit anti-fraud policies to FinCEN, or the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Transaction limits for new users at $2,000 daily and $10,000 within 14 days. And then refunds for fraud victims if they report losses within 30 days. So essentially a chargeback. Transactions over 500 will require live verbal confirmation to ensure the user is aware of the risks. Pausing right there, voice print. It's a voice print. If I do a transaction at an ATM of over $500, then Senator Dick Durbin, Tricky Dick, he wants my voice print. Now they're saying that, no, this is just so that we can confirm that you're aware. Bullshit. They want my voice printed alongside the timestamp of that transaction. So they know what my voice print looks like and be able to attach it forever and yon to that transaction. Just say no, guys. This is like drugs, man. Just say no. Fraudsters have used the machines to run different kinds of scams, including romance scams where victims are asked to send digital assets to fake online partners. Impersonation scams were also employed, in which criminals posed as government officials and demanded payment through digital asset ATMs. And there were also reports of investment scams where scammers promised high returns for digital asset deposits. Dude, that's a shitcoin right there. We have those without ATMs, and nobody seems to be interested in going after that shit anymore since the SEC tucked its tail in between its leg on the rest of the shitcoins in the world and said, you know what? You're fine. You all fail the Howey test. You're going to be just fine. You can spin up whatever shit you want. And it's not like I'm a big fan of regulation, but my God almighty, I've never seen anything like what the SEC has been pulling over the last couple of weeks. These are unregistered securities. It is in the purview of the SEC to say, this is an unregistered security, and because you offered it and you didn't tell anybody and you didn't file with us, you're going to go to jail. I'm sorry, because all these are scams, but I'm sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. Digital asset ATM operators are being hit hard with intense regulatory pressures, and it's not just a U.S. issue. Other countries are taking action. In the UK, Olimide Asuyunkoya was just sentenced to 4 years in prison for running illegal digital asset ATMs for money laundering. The Financial Conduct Authority has since removed dozens of unregistered machines and warned consumers about the risks of using them. The regulatory heat has many U.S.-based Bitcoin ATM operators rethinking their business model. Yeah, well, I would too with this kind of crap going on. I doubt, however, that Senator Tricky Dick Durbin's bill is going to pass. They've got bigger fish on the grill. I guarantee it, man. So let's get to the last one of the day. Phoenix Wallet version 2.5.0 APK size reduction, improved QR scanning, and changes in Tor. If you did not know, Phoenix is a mobile self-custodial Bitcoin wallet using Lightning to send and receive payments. It's available on both Android and iOS. The new version has been released with major improvements in QR code scanning on Android, a 78% reduction in APK size, and the display of pending on-chain funds on the home screen in the iOS app. And then there's access to Tor via Tor proxy VPN apps such as Orbot. Previously, Phoenix embedded a Tor library for network access, which was convenient, but, led to performance issues, particularly with background payments due to on-the-fly connection establishment. Now, with the Tor connection managed as a persistent VPN by a dedicated application, the connection is more stable, significantly improving the performance of background payments. And that's going to be really important to be able to do this over VPN and Tor, or over Tor, to mask what the hell it is that you're doing, because with people like Tricky Dick Durbin out there who want you to voice print your transactions, you're going to need all the security from these yahoos that you can get. So that is it for the day. We are definitely short on time, 46 minutes. This may be one of the shortest episodes that I've done so far, but there's nothing else to talk about, so I will see you on the other side. This has been Bitcoin and I'm your host, David Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.